He had the nerve to ask her how she was feeling and not even giving her the decency of giving her his attention. Like, he was like, so how you feeling? Neglected, dismissed, like I don't exist. Welcome to La Vida Rosa. I'm your host Pinky, and today we're going to be talking about Love is Blind Season 6 Episode 8. So if you'd like to see more, then just stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with Clay and AD because there just wasn't much on them this episode. We visit Clay's house. It's funny because when they first walk up to his place and he's keying in the code, he's hiding from her. Is this not going to be your wife or not? Like, why are you hiding that? I actually really like his place. It's nice with a decent amount of space. Definitely needs a woman's touch. You could definitely tell it's like a bachelor pad. Men never put anything on their walls unless it's like college athlete jersey up there. I think he ran track. So they'll decorate with stuff like that, but they're not really, you know what I'm saying? It takes a woman to come in and put some pictures on the wall, have little knickknacks and things like that all around the house. He said that, you know, he's already paying on the mortgage, and, you know, once they get married, you know, how would she feel about just hopping right in over here? And she was all for it. Still red flags all over the place. Very concerned about that last conversation they had about him not ever seeing a faithful man in a relationship before, and he's struggling really tough with that, especially seeing his father do it to his mother. Yeah, I didn't forget about none of that. So, you know, they were cute this episode, but how long is that gonna last? I don't know. Let's move on to Amy and Johnny. They have a conversation about him wanting to buy a house, and she's hesitant about going all in on a house, but she is financially ready. She's like more of a go with the flow type of person, spontaneous. She likes to enjoy the fruits of her labor, whereas Johnny grew up with not a lot of money. He's very focused on wanting to retire early, and therefore let's live frugally until we get to that point. He really wants to be financially secure before having children, and she agreed and said she doesn't mind that she wants to wait at least 5 years before they have a child. The topic of birth control came up again because he's very adamant about not having children, not even a oops accident, you know what I'm saying, because he doesn't want his children to grow up the way that he did. She's not really giving a definite answer as to why she doesn't want to take birth control, other than she doesn't like what it could possibly do to her body. And she tells him, well, you know, you can always get a vasectomy. I really feel like that's something he should really consider, since he's so adamant against not having children, because birth control, that is a huge ask of someone, especially if it affects them in a way that could be very detrimental to her in the long run. And I don't understand what he has against other forms of contraception. Nothing is 100% anyway. But he's just constantly putting pressure on her about this when it's more of a you thing. So he needs to really figure this out soon, or just break it off with her, because forcing birth control on her is not cool. That is going to present as a big problem. I feel like even with that discussion, like, they understood the gravity of it, but they kind of pushed it to the side, like that's something we're gonna have to figure out before we get married. Neither one of them seem like they want to budge. Let's move on to Jeremy and Laura. So they go to his place, and he talks about how OCD clean that he is. When you first walk into his place, he had the little wireless vacuum. You just cleaning. He had like gold, like very aesthetically pleasing silverware, and very, very organized cabinets. He would have the perfect place for, like, I love watching TikTok videos where they like stock the food in the refrigerator, and when they clean up, everything just looks so pristine, almost like it's not lived in. I don't know if I could live in a place like that where it just was that clean, or I would just feel like I couldn't touch anything. But she met her match when it came to cleanliness. I will say he said he was OCD, but he got into bed with his shoes on. So I'm just like, Are you really OCD? Or do you have somebody come in here and clean up for you? She also saw his CPAP machine, which he has to wear over his face at night. He said it's not loud. I don't think he actually turned it on, but he put it on while they were, you know, they kind of simulated how it would be. At the end of the episode, she meets up with Jessica. And she tells Jessica she's not really sure if Jeremy really shut everything down with Sarah. Like, that's something that she's uneasy about, because Sarah DM'd him. Basically, if you think you made the wrong decision, then we should meet up. Instead of shutting that message down and saying, well, I did find the love of my life and I'm happy with her, and you know, we could be cool, but I'm with the person that I love, he liked it. First of all, Sarah, this is loser behavior from you, because this man is engaged. Like, that is not your place. Him basically leaving the door open for her by liking it and by not clarifying and shutting it all down. I totally understand where Laura was coming from. What I didn't understand is why she was encouraging Jessica later on to do the exact same thing with Jimmy, but we'll get to that. So next, let's talk about Jimmy and Chelsea. He ended up meeting her roommate and her roommate was very loud and came in, oh, are you gonna be my BFF too? I lived through Chelsea, so if she's getting married, I'm married too. I ain't gonna lie, that would be a little off-putting for me. That completely threw him off, and he made sure to make it clear that he does not plan on living there with those two. But he was also very hesitant about her moving into his place, because he has a studio, he works from home, and so if he has to have meetings, then he'll need for her to leave anytime he would have a meeting, and that probably would be a little exhausting after a while. Outside of that, she does seem like she would like to move in, and she thinks there's enough space. Then at their shared apartment, her friends came over, and I guess that panting thing, that thing she does, is just her. I thought she was doing that because she was so excited to see her man for the first time, but no, she does that with she does that with her friends too, and I'm just like, So there have been so many comparisons of who we think she looks like, because it's definitely not Megan Fox. Yes, she might share some features with Megan Fox, but it's not giving Megan Fox. But somebody said Adele, and she really does look like Adele. So anyway, she did tell her friends about Trevor and how much he cared about her, how, you know, she was his number one, only one, but Jimmy was the hot commodity in the pods. All the women wanted Jimmy, and to me that kind of confirmed for me that you didn't choose Jimmy because you really cared about him or because you really had a connection with him. You wanted to be the one to say that you won. And I feel like that's also the reason why you put that Megan Fox thing out there, because you wanted to do a little manipulation and make sure he chose you. Sorry. So that day that they came over, she said that he had been standoffish to her and constantly in his phone. And she thinks it's because he finally saw a picture of Jessica. Because he told her what Jessica said, that he's going to need an EpiPen and need to be revived, child, once he saw her. I feel like she's already insecure. You know, this is rattling her more than she's letting on. So when Jimmy finally came downstairs, they asked him about the whole love triangle situation. He said out of his mouth that he was really only considering Jessica, and it took them falling out for him to even look Chelsea's way, for real. And Chelsea is eating this up. The friends are eating this up. I'm like, are y'all not hearing what this man said? She was a consolation prize, basically. What? So they get into the whole looks thing, and they were just honest and said he is not her typical type. Apparently Chelsea is not his either. He brought up the Megan Fox thing, and they backed her up and said they've heard that before, but that's her friends. They're gonna back her up regardless. She's a flight attendant, and she said that people on the plane told her that they only going based off what she told them. Have y'all ever been standing there when somebody walked up to her and said you look like Megan Fox? That's what I need to know. Later on, after the friends left, she called him out for being standoffish that day, and he was like, well, I bought you dinner. I thought that was enough. And she was like, well, you haven't kissed me, you haven't said I love you. And he brushed it off as you know, he was busy with work, and the fact that he bit his lip, like he really is taking this biting of the lip excuse and running with it. So she was honest and told him that she thought that he was thinking about Jessica. Ever since he saw that picture, he been acting different. So we find out Jeremy messy self showed Jimmy a picture of Jessica and said she looks like a Kardashian. She was already kind of spiraling in that moment, but when he called her clingy, she completely just circling the drain, baby. She needs constant validation. And I think in the back of her mind, she knows this man really doesn't want her, but she's trying to force a circle into a square peg. It's not going to work. You tried to be manipulative to get him, and this is the result. And so he just needs to be honest with her and tell her he's not attracted to her. That's where he's going wrong. Just be real. He's not telling the truth. And you could tell by how he's responding to her, how easy it is for him to brush her off. At one point, he said he needed a breather from intimacy. I feel like she was bluffing by storming out. But he packed his stuff so quick and left her there sitting on that couch crying. Next thing you know, we see Jessica meeting up with Laura. First of all, she said that Jimmy sent her a friend request. Which I feel like, I don't know. You know how Chelsea would feel about that. She flipped out about you just seeing her picture. Out of line. Then when she didn't respond within a few hours, he withdrew it and then privated his page. And so pretty much he was being petty because he couldn't see what she looked like. I guess her page was private. She was telling Laura that she's not attracted to him. And in fact, his voice might be the thing to pull her back in. And if they touch, it might be electric. Mind you, you're talking about this man like he's not engaged. Like he's not with another woman. Like the disrespect. She ended up asking Laura if they're in love. And from Laura's perspective, as much as they bragged about, oh, we're doing so great, from her perspective, they are. To combat that, she was like, well, I did my research and all of his exes look like me. Going out sad. It's so cringy that you even took out the time to look that up. You want Jiminy Cricket that bad? Really? And now she's basically purposely trying to tempt him. And this is really loser behavior. Like she tries to give off this baddie persona, but she looks so desperate because this man rejected you and chose another woman. And you're in here looking at his exes, but they look like me. I feel like she really just wants to say she won him and insulted that Chelsea got him because she feels like she looks better than Chelsea. That whole EpiPen line, it don't even mean anything anymore because look at how you're acting after the man didn't even choose you. You're not even letting him run after you. You're running after him. You want to be on the show that bad? Anyways, child, let's move on to Kenneth and Brittany. I just have to start this off by saying, Kenneth, you are a huge disappointment. I just did not see this coming from him. Like, even though I felt like he was being disingenuous, I really did from the beginning. I just didn't think he was going to go out like this. As trifling as he did. He is giving her a tour of his place. And once again, it's a bachelor pad, typical empty refrigerator. Why don't they put anything in their refrigerator? Their refrigerator just be sitting there collecting dust, child. And then he has an air fryer that he's never used. So clearly he doesn't cook at all. You look at his spice cabinet. Only 2 things in there. Oregano and Italian seasoning. Not even salt and pepper. So they're seemingly having a good time. He seems lively, showing her his place. But then, as soon as he got done, sit down, right back in his phone. Right back in his phone. And then he had the nerve to ask her how she was feeling and not even giving her the decency of giving her his attention. Like, he was like, so how you feeling? Oh, neglected. Dismissed. Like I don't exist. She does call him out about, you know, him feeling distant. For instance, she says she'll wake up, good morning, baby. And he'll wake up, hey. Because you know he has that type of face that looks like he is not interested at all. And he says he just doesn't have a big personality all the time and deserves a bit of grace in those moments. He gaslights her a lot in this episode. But I also do feel like Instead of letting those things happen, she should have just started calling that stuff out in the moment so that he can't turn around and say, oh, that's not what I meant. No, you just need to start calling him out every time he does it so he can see what he's doing. And what's your explanation for acting like this now? And I also don't like that she backs down so easily and appeases him with no sort of pushback. I don't like that. I wish she would stand up a little bit more and not waver on how she feels, because that is how you feel and that is what he's doing to you. Don't allow him to gaslight you. The next time we see them, we pick up, and apparently the day before he was gone all day and all night and got home very late from getting his hair twisted. And when he got home, he decided to wake her up, turn on all the lights at 1 a.m. when she has to be up at 5 to say goodnight. I'm sorry, he knows better. He's a principal. I'm sure he has to wake up early every morning. He purposefully did that to be nasty. I'm sorry, he did. He did. And so she confronts him about that. Like, why would you do that? And, you know, she does a lot of laughing everything off. And no, I want you to say it with a straight face and set boundaries. So he's like, well, I was just trying to show affection to you. You said I don't show affection. He doesn't want to let one night that bothered her change her whole mind about him. You can show your desire when people are already awake. And second of all, why are you out till 1 a.m. getting your hair twisted? Because I know you wasn't at no place of business. I know you was at somebody's house, possibly sitting in between their legs, getting your hair twisted. He wouldn't have heard the end of it from me. He would not be gaslighting me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Because where were you for real? And then you want to come home and wake me up at 1 a.m. Oh, you would have wished you would have let me sleep. Because that's another one of my pet peeves, waking me up for no reason. You could have saw me at 5 a.m. that morning. Not wake me up, turn on all the lights. So then she went on to say that she feels there's no desire between them. When they were in the pod, she desired him and she craved him and she felt that from him. But lately, she just has not been feeling that from him. And he said that he has that for her. He tried to kiss her and she went right back to work, and he just didn't want to force himself on her, and he's feeling that from her. But if you're feeling that, then that's news to me. Like, really trying to flip it back on her, trying to play these mind tricks, right? And then she let him know, like, but we barely kiss. And she got really emotional. She started crying, and basically he was very straight-faced. He took no accountability. He completely flipped it on her and was gaslighting her about the whole situation, trying to make it seem like it was all in her head. And I have these emotions for you. I crave you. I desire you. You're the one that's telling me now. I'm just now finding out you're not into me, when really he's the one who's been giving off this standoffish energy the entire time, when she's been doing everything to try to just have a conversation with you, to get you to look up from your phone. And even while she's in this moment crying her eyes out, trying to figure out how to make this relationship work, you are still in your phone, having no sort of sympathy, not trying to have an ounce of understanding or compassion or empathy at all. I wanted her to put her foot down, not wavering her feelings at all, because your feelings are valid. You switched up. You've been distant. You woke me up and I was not happy about that. Just say it with your whole chest. And Kenneth, if you're not attracted to this woman, if you want to be in a relationship with a black woman, you want black love, you got in this relationship, you realize it's not what you want, just say that. You don't have to do everything in your power to push her away and make her break up with you, or, you know what I'm saying? You just be a man and tell her, because it really does seem like he really switched up after that conversation with AD. Everything changed. And if that's how you feel, fine, but don't feed her no BS. Don't be a passive aggressive jerk. Don't gaslight her and make her feel like something is wrong with her, like she did something wrong. It just didn't make any sense at all. And then at the very end of it, he just completely broke up with her out of nowhere. Like, I had to rewind. Like, I was like, what? He had zero emotion on his face. Like, well, if it's just not meant to be, oh well, give me a hug. What? Y'all were engaged. Y'all were about to get married in a few days, and you just break it off so cavalier. Like, you could tell he was just looking for any reason to break up with her, because that did not add up. It didn't make any sense. She was sitting up here emotional, crying. He was like, bring it in, gave her a hug. Probably the most emotion she got from him is him being happy that he finally gets to leave. Hugged her, basically shrugging off any emotion she may have in the moment, and just being so cold. Like, he immediately went upstairs, got ready to pack, told his friend he was on his way over, while she's sitting down crying her eyes out. He didn't have to do her like that. You just hate to see people mistreated for no reason, because she didn't do anything to deserve that. But at the end of the day, girl, you dodged a bullet. You really did. At least you didn't have to suffer through a loveless marriage. Also, you need to work through your issues as to why you were willing to put up with that, because much like AD, you ignored a lot of the red signs and you tried to work through it. I understand you're there, but I'm telling you, I wouldn't have put up with half of what he did. I definitely would have been snapping and going off on him. Oh yes, especially waking me up at 1 a.m. Are you crazy? Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think down below. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? I'd love to hear your opinion, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Peace.